This, of course, is a very auspicious day. When you turn on the news or open the newspaper, everything is about the anniversary of what happened in 2001 in the World Trade Center and throughout the East Coast, where 2,823 people lost their lives that day in what we now call 9/11. So I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about how we as a spiritual community can be in relationship with God when crisis happens. And rest assured, crisis is going to happen to us. The only place it really doesn't happen to us much is for those wonderful first 9 months of life, when every need is met and we don't have to ask for anything. It is absolutely the time when we are at bliss. And you know why? Because we are at one with the co-creator of our being. We really are. And then this amazing thing happens called birth, and immediately we experience pain. And from that moment on, I believe, in our life, we experience pain, loss, grief, and tragedy and crisis in some form, just ongoing. And I think that the metaphysical reason for that is so beautiful when you look at this whole birthing thing, where we are at one with our co-creator, and now we no longer are at one, and we begin to experience all forms of grief and loss, I believe primarily related to the fact that we are no longer connected with the co-creator of our being physically. Now see, for us spiritually, that's why we experience grief, tragedy, and loss. We are feeling an amazing sense of separation. I think from that moment of birth, there is a divine discontent in us that longs once again to be in that completely unitive state where all of needs are met. We are at one once again with the co-creator. Do you understand? It's not just a physical thing anymore. It is a spiritual yearning. And so looking at life from that context can help in these situations. Webster defines crisis as a situation that has reached an extremely difficult or dangerous point, a time of great uncertainty or suffering. And I think it's interesting that it's from the Latin, from the Greek word meaning to choose. When you're in crisis, we will have a choice to choose. It's always the experience that is real or unreal of our separation in some form or another. Now, I want to talk to you first about what I can't say and what I will not say to you. And this may be a little disturbing because people often think that the minister of a church is supposed to have all the answers. And I do try to pretend that I do a lot of the time. But when a crisis happens and people lose someone they love, and we all have these crises. Sometimes we'll have them because we've lost a loved one, a member of our family, a spouse. Sometimes we've lost a beloved pet, or sometimes we've lost a home we loved, or even a jewelry. Or a couple of weeks ago, I lost a cup I really liked, and it was a special cup. But every moment of the day, we will experience those kinds of losses. So today, we're acknowledging one that happened 10 years ago. In the middle 1300s, 100 million people died from what we call the Black Plague. 100 million people. In the earlier part of this last century, around 1918 to 1920, another 100 million people died from what we call the Great Pandemic, which we now call the flu. 8 million people died from the years 1500 to 1863 in what we call the Atlantic slave trade. 6 million people died in 1793 when the volcano Lahti erupted and killed 6 million people in Iceland and in Europe. And during World War II, over 6 million Jews and others were killed in what we call the Holocaust. In 1912, 1,517 people died when the Titanic sank. And just last year, 230,000 people died in the Haiti earthquake. We are surrounded constantly by crisis and tragedy. So what do I say as a minister in all those situations? What can I say to you? And I know you expect me to know an answer. I'll tell you what I will not say. I won't say, oh, it's God's will. I won't say, oh, it's all an illusion anyway. I won't say, oh, well, they're in a better place. I won't say those things, whether I might believe part or all of those things or not. I won't say those things because, in truth, I don't believe I can say them from a place of knowing the truth. And that upsets people because we live in a scientific age and we want to know things. The way we think we relate to everything in this world is by what we know about it. We want to know its height and depth and breadth. And we want to know all there is, all the facts and all the truth. And we want to know God. And we just simply can't. I'm not the only one that says this. The prophet Isaiah, in his book, is quoting God when God says, I don't think the way you think. The way you work isn't the way I work. The way I work surpasses the way you work. And the way I think is beyond the way you think. I can't know God. The great Swami Satchidananda said that we're very much like, if God were the ocean, we would be like a wave on the ocean. A form of that ocean, a part of that ocean, we're moving along and we crash on the shore and it kind of disappears. And we go back into the ocean and then we disappear and we reform again. Here's the thing, folks. We are a part of it. We are a part of the ocean. We are not oceanographers. And we really want to be oceanographers. We really want to know everything there is to know about God. But it's not about that. It is not about God. It's about the experience of God. Thomas Merton was a beautiful Trappist monk, born in 1917, great writer and poet. And when he applied to be a Trappist monk, he interviewed, and while he was waiting, they made him go in the kitchen and scrub pans and scrub the floors. It's part of the spiritual training, which is why I'm a unity minister and not a Trappist monk. While he was doing that exercise in humility, he began to realize his own transientness as a part of God. And he wrote these words, God, your brightness is my darkness. I know nothing of you. And by myself, I cannot even imagine how to go about knowing you. If I imagine you, I am mistaken. If I understand you, I am deluded. If I am conscious and certain I know you, I am crazy. Darkness is enough. Because it isn't about knowing God. It's about experiencing God. You see, the kite, when it's flying, it doesn't have to know about the wind. It just has to know that it's being lifted up by the wind. The flowers, when they grow and they bask in this great sunlight of the universe, they don't have to know about the sun, how far away it is, how bright it is. They just bask in it and receive all of its blessings. It's one thing to know those things and to live in them and to find joy in it is another one. If you're looking for that joy, I'd recommend the 139th Psalm. David writes, he says, I look behind me and you're there. Then up ahead and you're there too. Your reassuring presence coming and going. This is too much. It's too wonderful. I can't take it all in. Is there any place I can go to avoid your spirit? To be out of your sight? If I climb to the sky, you are there. If I go underground, you're there. If I flew on morning's wings to the far western horizon, you'd find me in a minute. You're already there, waiting. So it isn't about knowing God. It's always about experiencing God. So when we get into a situation of crisis, one of great difficulty, one that is of great challenge, one in which we don't seem to understand, trying to understand why is God doing this, why is this happening, those are not questions I believe we can answer. But I believe we can experience God, and in that experience, we may not know the answer, but we will feel the great love that will sustain us. Here's how I believe we can do that. Some very simple things. If you will understand that contention, that in crisis it is about our sense of separation, then the answer is in resolving the separation through connection. So the first thing is to make connections, inside and out. So there's two levels of connections. The inside connections we make by breathing and being still. Because the first thing that happens when we get afraid or we get anxious or we get angry or really get hurt is we stop breathing. So breathing deeply brings this amazing breath of life into all of our bodies. So we just breathe deeply. And then we be still. And the being still in unity we talk about as prayer and meditation. It is that place of connection with God. After we've connected inside and we breathe, then we look at connecting on the outside with others. And in that process, we give and receive comfort. So instead of sometimes hiding away, reclusive in a sad room, we reach out and we make connections. Just this last week, I found out about a person in our congregation who had lost a beloved spouse of many years. And this person, on their own, without any coaching from their minister, decided to host a dinner in their home once a week for other people who had experienced sad loss in their life. And they get together and they just eat and support one another and love one another. And I think that explains why, when I see this person in church, there is a glow and a light and a smile that I'm surprised to see. After so many years of being in love, there's light. And it comes from that connection of giving and receiving comfort. After you've done that, you've done the inside and outside connection, the second answer is pretty simple. It's love. And I got this one from Good Morning America, a great source of spiritual truth. Diane Sawyer was interviewing a woman whose fiancé was killed in the 9/11 tragedy. She was to be married in 2 months, and her fiancé was in one of the towers and died and was never, ever found. Tremendous loss. Can you imagine? You know, those weeks and months when you're in love, right before you're going to get married, there's such a sense of joy, and to have that completely destroyed is huge grief and loss. She found herself just lying in a bed, unable to get out, crippled by the great sadness. And then she did something out of her intuition that changed everything. She got a puppy. A tiny crack in her life where she could love. Just a tiny place where she could extend who she was, and she was able to have that love come through that small, little, tiny place. You see, love is part of a great circulatory energy, and if we stop it up, if we freeze because of grief and sadness, then it can't flow into us and it can't flow out of us, and we're stagnant. So she just opened a crack, and it made all the difference in her healing. So now, 10 years later, Diane Sawyer interviews her. The puppy's a full-grown dog now, still there. And so is her new husband. And so is her new little 3-year-old boy. And she is incredibly happy. She let love begin to flow through. So in the midst of tragedy and crisis, after we connect with ourselves, with God, and with others, find some way to let love begin to flow, even in a small and simple way. Because, folks, love is the answer. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said, "Love is my ability to know oneness with all and to desire that good comes to all." So if the cause of our crisis, grief, is separation, love is the ability to know oneness. It's the one thing we need to do to heal. Love is the answer. The great poet laureate of Unity was named James Gillett Freeman. And when he was a young man, very young, he was married, newly married actually, and his wife developed cancer. This was quite a long time ago. There weren't many treatments. And as she lay dying in a hospital, he went to a small chapel that was in the hospital, and he began to pray. And while he was praying, he heard a voice. A voice was telling him amazing things. And so he wrote them down. And it became a poem. Now, I had a great Bible teacher once that said, the greatest tragedy of our human spiritual journey is that we put a back cover on this book. You know what I mean? We closed off God's revelation to us. No more scripture, this is all there is. And I tell you that because I believe that if we left off the back cover, this might be a new scripture. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to read you parts of this. But I want to read it to you as an opportunity for you to experience what I'm talking about and not just think about it and not just hear about it. So I want to invite you to close your eyes for just a moment, please. If you understand that premise, that we are all always experiencing loss and grief of some kind or another, of some degree, and we've all had it in our past, I'm going to invite you to allow some of that feeling to come forward in you. We try to keep it down a lot, I know, because it feels better and safer. But this is a safe place right now. So I invite you to, whatever that is, to allow it to come forward. And if it feels sad, that's all right. I want you to hear these words, just as James Dillard Freeman heard them in that chapel so many decades ago. And understand that they are being whispered to you now. Not from a place of knowing, but from a place of being. Do you need me? I am there. You cannot see me, yet I am the light you see by. You cannot hear me, yet I speak through your voice. You cannot feel me, yet I am the power at work in your hands. I am at work, though you do not understand. I am at work, though you do not understand my works. I am not strange visions. I'm not mysteries. Only in absolute stillness, beyond yourself, can you know me. And even then, just as a feeling and a faith. Yet I am here. Yet I hear. Yet I answer. When you need me, I am there. Even if you deny me, I am there. Even when you feel most alone, I am there. Even in your fears, I am there. Even in your pain, I am there. I'm there when you pray and when you do not pray. I'm in you and you are in me. Only in your mind can you feel separate from me, for only in your mind are the mists of yours and mine. Yet only with your mind can you know me and experiences me. Though you may not see the good, good is there, for I am there. I'm there because I have to be, because I am. Only in me does the world have meaning. Only out of me does the world take form. Only because of me does the world go forward. I am the law on which the movement of the stars and the growth of the living cells are founded. I am the love that is the law's fulfilling. I am assurance. I am peace. I am oneness. I am the law you can live by. I am the love you can cling to. I am your assurance. I am your peace. I am one with you. I am. And though you fail to find me, I do not fail you. Though your faith in me is unsure, my faith in you never wavers, because I know you, because I love you. Beloved, I am there. God, we thank you that you are here. And where you are, there is joy, peace, and love.